A serious development in Abuja is raising new questions about privacy, power, and accountability in Nigeria's political space. The ICPC says it has uncovered alleged phone-tapping equipment at a residence linked to former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, a discovery now sparking national debate about surveillance, institutional oversight, and public trust. As reactions grow both inside Nigeria and among Nigerians abroad, attention is shifting to what this could mean for governance and national stability. Here's what we know so far. A serious development has emerged from Abuja that is raising fresh questions about privacy, governance, and national security in Nigeria. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, known as the ICPC, says it discovered equipment allegedly capable of intercepting communications during a search linked to former Kaduna State Governor, Nasir El-Rufai. The discovery has immediately sparked nationwide debate, not just about one political figure, but about how technology, power, and accountability intersect in modern Nigeria. What exactly was found? Why does it matter? And what could this mean for ordinary Nigerians at home and abroad who depend on stable institutions and trust in public leadership? Before we break everything down, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to stay informed with clear, balanced political reporting that focuses on facts and national impact. Let's begin with the core facts. According to reports circulating in Nigeria's political and legal space, the ICPC carried out an operation at a residence in Abuja linked to former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai. During this operation, officials reportedly recovered electronic devices described as advanced surveillance or communication monitoring equipment. Authorities allege that the devices may have had the capability to intercept phone conversations and access sensitive communications. At the time of this report, investigators have not publicly released full technical details of the equipment, and no final legal conclusions have been announced. The use of the word alleged is important here. The investigation is ongoing, and under Nigerian law, every individual remains presumed innocent unless proven otherwise through due legal process. What makes this development significant is not only the identity of the individual involved, but the nature of the equipment reportedly discovered. Surveillance technology is typically associated with authorized security agencies operating under strict legal frameworks. When such devices appear outside officially declared channels, questions naturally arise about authorization, oversight, and purpose. The ICPC itself is one of Nigeria's major anti-corruption agencies, tasked with investigating abuse of office, corruption-related offenses, and misuse of public resources. Its involvement signals that authorities consider this matter serious enough to require federal investigation. Now, to understand why this story has gained so much attention, we need to look at the broader political context. Nasir El-Rufai remains one of Nigeria's most influential political figures. As former governor of Kaduna State and a prominent voice within national politics, his actions and political positions often generate strong reactions across party lines. Any investigation connected to such a figure automatically becomes a national conversation because it touches on political trust, governance standards, and institutional independence. For many Nigerians, the central question is simple: how could equipment allegedly capable of monitoring communications end up in a private residence? Was it legally obtained? Was it connected to official duties from a previous role? Or is there another explanation entirely? These are the questions investigators are now expected to clarify. Beyond personalities, this development highlights a growing global issue: digital surveillance and privacy. Around the world, governments and institutions are grappling with how powerful monitoring technologies should be controlled. Nigeria is not isolated from this trend. As communication increasingly moves online and through encrypted platforms, the ability to monitor or intercept data carries enormous power. And power without clear oversight often becomes a public concern. For ordinary Nigerians, especially professionals, business owners, journalists, and political observers, the idea of unauthorized monitoring raises fears about privacy rights. Citizens expect that their conversations, business discussions, and personal communications remain protected unless lawful procedures are followed. This is where governance institutions become critical. Investigations like this test whether regulatory bodies can operate independently and transparently regardless of political influence. For Nigerians living abroad in the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and across Europe, developments like this matter more than they may initially appear. Diaspora communities closely watch governance trends because they influence investor confidence, remittance flows, and Nigeria's international reputation. When institutions demonstrate accountability, it strengthens global confidence in the country's democratic system. When questions arise, international observers pay attention. Nigeria's stability, regulatory credibility, and rule of law directly affect foreign partnerships, business expansion, and economic cooperation, areas where diaspora Nigerians are heavily involved. Now let's examine the legal dimension. If investigators determine that the equipment was possessed or used outside legal authorization, several legal questions could arise. Nigerian law regulates interception of communications, and such actions typically require court approval and involvement of recognized security agencies. Unauthorized interception could potentially raise issues related to privacy protection and misuse of technology. However, it is equally important to stress that investigations are meant to establish facts, not assumptions. Evidence must be examined, ownership verified, and intent clearly determined before any legal conclusions are reached. Legal experts often remind the public that early reports in politically sensitive cases rarely tell the full story. Technical analysis of electronic devices can take weeks or months, especially when authorities must determine capability versus actual usage. Another important angle is political perception. Nigeria's political environment is highly competitive, and investigations involving prominent figures sometimes trigger accusations of political targeting or selective enforcement. Supporters and critics alike often interpret events through political lenses. This makes transparency from investigators especially important to maintain public trust. If the ICPC provides clear updates supported by verifiable facts, it could strengthen confidence in anti-corruption institutions. If communication remains unclear, speculation may fill the gap, something authorities typically try to avoid. Public reaction so far reflects Nigeria's divided political climate. Some citizens see the investigation as proof that institutions are working. Others urge caution, emphasizing the need for fairness and due process. Both perspectives highlight a deeper national issue. Nigerians increasingly want institutions that operate above politics. This story also raises questions about technology regulation in Nigeria. Surveillance tools have become more accessible globally, meaning governments must continuously update laws to address modern risks. Policymakers may now face renewed pressure to clarify how monitoring technologies are imported, licensed, and supervised. For young Nigerians working in tech and digital innovation, this conversation is especially relevant. Nigeria's growing digital economy depends on trust that data is protected and communication systems remain secure. Without that trust, innovation and investment could slow. Economically, stability and institutional credibility play a major role in attracting foreign investors. Investors often assess governance transparency before committing resources. Developments involving investigations into high-profile figures can therefore influence international perception, even before final outcomes are known. This does not mean immediate economic consequences, but perception matters in global markets. Another dimension is electoral politics. Nigeria continues to prepare for future political cycles, and issues involving surveillance naturally raise concerns about fairness, information control, and political competition. Whether or not this case connects to political activity, it reinforces ongoing debates about electoral transparency and democratic safeguards. Observers will be watching closely to see how institutions handle the process, calmly, legally, and transparently. So what happens next? Typically, investigators will analyze recovered devices, review documentation, interview relevant individuals, and determine whether any laws were violated. Findings may lead to further inquiries, legal proceedings, or closure of the case depending on evidence. Until then, responsible reporting requires patience and balance. Facts must lead the conversation, not speculation. For viewers, the key takeaway is that this story is bigger than one person. It touches on privacy, institutional strength, technological oversight, and democratic accountability. These are foundational issues for any modern nation. Nigeria's progress depends not only on economic growth or political competition, but also on strong systems that citizens trust regardless of who holds power. As this situation develops, Nigerians at home and abroad will be watching for clarity from investigators, cooperation from all parties involved, and commitment to lawful procedures. In moments like this, national maturity is measured by how institutions respond and how the public engages with verified information rather than rumors. We will continue to follow updates carefully and present them with balance and context so you can understand not just what is happening, but why it matters. If you found this report helpful, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with other Nigerians at home and in the diaspora who want clear, responsible political analysis without noise or exaggeration.